everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I am going to do something I've been meaning to do for a while, and this video is mostly for myself just because I wanted to get some of these ideas recorded in case I decide to use them in the future. Now, to kind of open up with what's going on here, this is the game Boat Action by Warlord Games. And I'm thinking of doing an episode of the Solo Wargaming Show podcast. And what the episode is going to deal with is it time for a third edition of Boat Action? Boat Action now has been around, I don't even know how long it's been around. If I was to look at this edition here in the copyright, this says copyright, where is it at? 2016. So this is, what, 5 years old, which means Boat Action itself has probably been around at least 10 years, and we've only had 2 editions so far. And so what that has got me to thinking about is some of the things I'd like to see changed or at least addressed in the next edition of Boat Action. And so that is what this video is going to be about. I'm going to share with you guys my top 5 house rules for Boat Action, or the top 5 things I'd like to see done or changed in Boat Action. And I'm going to begin, and just kind of get right into it. I've kind of got a basic setup. I may move stuff or change stuff randomly because I'm not actually playing a game, but I just thought it would help illustrate my thinking. So let's get started. The first thing we are going to look at is snipers. Okay, so I think the first thing we need to talk about with snipers is, I think anybody that has played a game of Boat Action that has ever tried to buy or field a sniper has been left horribly, just totally disappointed and unsatisfied. I mean, the whole concept behind a sniper is that this guy is going to cause terror in your enemy ranks. And the snipers in Boat Action do anything but that. At 52 points for a sniper team, I mean, to put that kind of in context, you can get a U.S. Marine squad early war regular infantry for 50 points. 1 NCO and 4 men. Or you can get a regular infantry squad with 1 NCO and 5 men for 60 points. So basically you're paying 52 points for a sniper, and you're basically getting 1 guy and a spotter. If you get a veteran sniper, it goes all the way up to 67 points. So you never get your value out of a sniper. And the reason is several, but I'm going to show you kind of in these rules how a sniper currently works in Boat Action, and the changes I think need to be made to make snipers worthwhile in the game. So let's just say we have our bag here. I have a sniper over there in the building. Right now my opponent knows I brought a sniper. He knows I put the sniper over there in the building. And so I'm going to draw a die at random. Okay, so that is an American die. So I say, okay, I'm going to give this die to my sniper, and he is going to take a fire action. Now, a sniper gets to fire with no penalty. If he has his spotter, he would take a penalty. If he has pins, he would take a penalty. But basically, without any kind of penalty, that sniper only needs to roll a 3 or higher. Okay, and so we're gonna zoom out for a minute so we can see everything that's taking place here. So the sniper only needs to roll a 3 or higher. In this situation, the sniper in that building is going to be targeting this. It's going to be targeting this squad of Germans or Wehrmacht that have just entered the town. They have a tank support. They know there's some Americans here, but they don't know how many Americans. So the sniper is already at a 3. He has the exceptional rule where he can pick a target out, which in this case he'd obviously want to go for the officer. He has no other penalties for for shooting. So all of that so far sounds good, right? And so we would just do that, right? Okay, he has a 3. That's what he needs to hit. Let's just see the range. He's at 36 inches. If he has a scope, that won't really affect him. Let's just say these guys have no cover. He needs a 3. Okay, so he rolls a 3. He's shooting at a veteran, and he decides, well, I'm going to pick the officer. So he needs officers, a vet. He needs a 4 or higher. And he rolls, I think that would be a 6. That is a 6. So that sniper would get a kill. Now, that's how you would think, okay, the sniper worked. He got a kill. He killed my officer. But let's reverse this now, because I don't have a problem with any of that, what you just saw. Let's say the Germans get the first die. My sniper's in the building, and the first thing the German says is, well, I'm going to fire my tank at that building with his sniper, right? And let's just say the German says, well, I'm going to fire, HE on him, in that building. And I'm going to look up the HE, so I'm going to pause this. Okay, so I just did a quick review of HE. Like, I haven't played bolt action in a couple of years, so I just want to make sure I'm in the ballpark. I might make some mistakes, but for the purposes of this. So we are going to give an order to our tank here, our P4, to fire on the building with HE. And that's going to be another thing you see addressed in one of my house rules, or one of the changes I think we need for bolt action. So because he's firing in the building with HE, cover has nothing to do with it. He's just aiming at the building. The normal cover thing wouldn't apply. So again, if we have to gun of the tank, it needs a 3. Distance is not going to make a matter. HE means there's no other cover that's going to make a matter. Now, the sniper has to declare if he's going to, quote, go down. If he goes down, he would have the damage that he takes. But of course, if he goes down, his die gets pulled out the bag and he's no use. He can't do anything that turn of the game. So let's just do both examples. In this one, the sniper doesn't go down. We roll 3 or higher. So in this one, they roll a 2. That means the shot somehow misses the building, and the sniper is okay because he didn't go down. Let's assume the sniper went down, right? If the sniper went down and he rolled a 2 and missed, well, now the sniper just gave up his shot for no reason because the gun missed. But now let's assume he didn't go down. Let's assume the tank, let's just say this dice is terrible. The tank did not miss. Let's say the tank hits. It does D3 damage. So this is a 6. Half of 6 is 3. Because of the penetration on the tank, the sniper is dead. So in one turn, you've lost 52 points of your force. You lose a die out of your bag. That's pretty much how snipers work in this game. And if you don't have your spotter with the sniper, right, if you don't have your guy with him, he suffers a -1 on his to hit. Right? And so for most part, you almost never see people really bringing snipers no more. You have some people that will bring a sniper in the game just because, it's fun. And they okay, maybe my sniper will get a shot off. But you almost never see people bringing snipers. And the snipers have invoked no fear. So let's change this and say, okay, we're not going to fire at the sniper with the tank. We're going to let this squad that just came in fire. Maybe we want to save our tank for something meatier. So I give them a die. Let's say their first die that comes out, my officer gets it, and he does an advance, and he moves kind of here to get into some cover. And then he gives them an advance or a fire order. Right? And they are going to fire or advance and fire. Let's say they advance up against the tank to try to get some cover. And they are all going to fire. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 Germans. The sniper is in the building. So we're going to give him cover. So they would go from 3s. If they moved, it'd be 4. If we give him hard cover, it would actually be 6. but I'm not going to do the move. We're not going to do that. Let's say they're rolling 5s against the sniper in the building. And they've got 1 hit out of 5. So that would put a pin. And then we're going to see if they can wound or kill. The veteran sniper, let's just say, no, I didn't get the veteran. So they only need a 3 or higher. They rolled a 2. So that would be no kill. But let's assume they have rolled a 3. Well, if they had rolled a 3, this is where we would be in the next turn. So the sniper, because they got a hit, that would be a pin, right? Also, because they got a kill, let's just say he puts the kill on his spotter. So now he's operating without a spotter. So now the American turn comes up. The sniper gets his order. He's going to fire. You know, the officer is kind of over here in cover, hiding on his own. So he can fire at this team or he can fire at the officer. Of course, he's going to choose the officer. Now, he's normally a 3. He's got a pin, which makes him a 4. And he's missing his spotter. Now he only hits on a 5. So let's roll for our intrepid sniper. Oh, he rolled a 4. That is a miss. Let's try again, sniper. He rolled a 6. So that would actually be a hit. Now, once again, this is a 4 he needs because this is a veteran. He rolled a 1. He did not kill the officer. So once again, you get a sniper that is wholly underperforming. Now we're going to look at how I would like snipers to be played. Okay, so in my version of a sniper, first of all, I'm going to give you the summary of the changes I would make or I will house rule. The first and most important change I would have for snipers is you cannot fire on snipers until they have fired. And I will repeat, you cannot target or fire on a sniper until it has fired at least once. Or unless you get a figure within 10 inches of the sniper's position. So if the sniper is here, you know, you'd have to be approximately, you know, somewhere right there, like where you're almost eyeballing the sniper. Now you got to realize the sniper has 36 inches. So I'm on a small table, but normally to get to within 10 inches of a sniper, he's going to have at least gotten off 3 good shots. The second rule I would put is if a sniper fires, it can be targeted normally unless it goes 1 whole turn without firing. And so the way this rule would work is, take our example where my sniper fires on the German team. Oops. So what the second rule does that says, unless it goes 1 turn without firing, means this is a reset. So if our sniper has fired on this team and perhaps the sniper has missed, he's already got a fire order. This team, this German team, when they get an order, right, they can decide to fire on the sniper if that's what they want to do, right? They can say, hey, we want to now fire on the sniper because he fired on us, right? Now they can do that. But if the next turn the sniper does not fire on anybody, not just them, but does not fire at all, they could not target the sniper again until the sniper fires or they get within 10 inches of the sniper's location, right? Or obviously what they would think would be his last location, right? I think this is not only more realistic in the sense that, you know, you did not normally walk into a city and know there's a sniper in a building. Oh, let's just shoot a tank round into all the large buildings because there's snipers in there. That's just not how it played out, right? You got shot at and then you targeted the building where the shot came from. But depending on the sniper, his position and things, you still might not know where he was at even after he shot. And so I think the reset does that. And the other thing that I would absolutely do with a sniper, I like the exceptional rule, so I would keep that, or I would give the sniper a choice and say, You can use the exceptional rule, but if you use the exceptional rule, you are going to have to roll to kill. If you do not use the exceptional rule, then you will get an auto kill. And what that means then is, if this officer is still with this unit, I can say, well, I want to use the exceptional rule. I'm specifically targeting the officer. So I need a 4 or higher, right? Because the sniper gets no advantage on the roll. Like, he gets no advantage on target, on the kill shot, which really is what a sniper's advantage should be, is on the kill, right? Anybody can shoot you and hit you, right? But the snipers shoot you and kill you. It's the old one shot, one kill. But, if you say, well, okay, that's too powerful, we're going to lose our officers that we paid all these points for, or whatever, then the sniper has to choose. He either takes that roll and he takes the chance of missing because he's trying to target that officer specifically, or he says, you know what, I don't really need the officer. I'm just going to whittle this unit down. I roll. I need a 3 or better. Bam. I rolled a 3. That is one shot. That is one kill. One shot, one kill. Right now, this plays out a lot differently. So let's play this out again using my rules. Okay, so using my rules, the German squad and their officer and tank have entered the town of Verville. They've heard that there may be some American snipers in here, but they have no idea where they're at. We draw the first die to see how the action commences. And the first die goes to the Germans. Because the Germans have no idea where the sniper is at, they cannot target the sniper in that building with anything. Instead, what the German commander decides to do is, he is going to move his men as close as he can to either cover or to a building. So in this instance, the German commander is thinking of doing an advance run across the field there, which would be 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He orders his men with his die to follow him in this advance move. And now they are within range that if there is a sniper here or here, they can target any of those snipers. Unfortunately for the Germans, however, they have now just moved right into the open range of a hidden American infantry squad. Now, the German commander has thought this out in his head, and actually prior to really moving, he decided that he was not going to do that. He did not want to move his men and be left standing out there in the open, and so he is once again back here. Again, he does not know where the sniper's at. He cannot fire on the sniper because he does not know where it is at. So, in order to protect his men, the German commander uses this die to give his tank an advance. The tank advances a modest 6 inches to the middle of the town to try to take command of the town and protect the unit from snipers. But unfortunately for our tank commander, the Americans have a hidden bazooka in their infantry squad. So once again, the German commander sees this scenario play out in his head, and he decides, you know what, that wouldn't be a good idea. I don't think we're going to do that either. Instead, the German commander wisely decides that he's going to give his men a run action, and they are going to run as fast as they can back into this building behind them and occupy the building and take cover. And as you can see them, they are making their way back into the building. They are going to try to set up their MG. They are going to maybe try to get on the top of the building, while the tank is left in the middle of the road to fend for itself and maybe see if it can draw out the sniper fire. Okay, so now we're going to reset it, and we are now going to look at it from the standpoint of, if the sniper got the first shot, right? Because we saw there what would how all the thinking would change, even if the Germans got the first shot, if they could not target the sniper on the first turn. So in this case, the sniper, the Americans get their die out the bag, and I'm using these for Americans, and the sniper gets his first shot. He gets a fire. The sniper is going to hit on a 3 or higher. See if we can get a view of the sniper here. So yeah, you can see him up there. He's got a good bead. So he is going to hit on a 3 or higher. So let's first see whether or not he even gets a hit. He rolls a 6. So he definitely gets a hit. The sniper now has to choose. Does he want to go for the officer needing a 4 or higher, or does he want to take an automatic kill against the squad? He could even use an exceptional hit the machine gunner, but he would probably just be replaced by someone else picking up the machine gun. Our sniper decides he's trying to get the officer. He now needs a 4 or higher. He rolls a 2, and he misses the officer, right? He misses the officer. He's taking a shot, and now they can put the tank on him, right? But let's just say the sniper saw that scenario in his head, and he decided, you know, I'm not here to collect bounties on officers' heads. I'm here to defend my squad, and I am going to take a 1 shot and a 1 kill. So he does roll to hit again. This time he takes a man out of the unit, right? And he has used up his turn with a fire action. Of course, assuming the Germans get the next die, that sniper can now be targeted. Whether he will be targeted or not, we don't know, right? But he can be targeted now because he has taken that shot. And that is basically the only simple changes I think you would need to the sniper rule to make this sniper worth its points that you pay for, and to make it deadly. I mean, you could play some very fun games of moving your sniper behind a big board where your opponent starts 36 inches out, and you are moving that sniper and shooting, then you're not shooting and you're moving, and they are constantly trying to triangulate you so that they can get a good shot on you and take you out. So let me know what you guys think of that. And the next rule that we are going to look at is the rule on mines. Okay, in this scenario, I want to look at mines. And this one should be a lot quicker since boat action does not have any rules on mines. Now, I know they do have some supplements, and I think they have some scenarios where they have given some kind of cursory rules on mines. But if you are using the standard boat action rulebook, there are no rules for mines. My ideal for mines is actually quite simple, and I think it actually works pretty well. Now, I think in like some games of boat action, if you have mines and they say, oh, well, you know, this is a minefield, right? And so when you walk in there, you roll on a D5, you hit a mine. On a 5 or 6, you hit a mine. And it's kind of arbitrary, right? They might say this whole blue thing is a minefield, and the minute your squad goes in there, they have to roll every time they walk to see if they hit a mine. All right, I don't really like that idea, but I do like the idea of cordoning off the area. Now, what I have done for mines, and I have a separate video in my boat action playlist on how I deal with mines. And so let's say in this game, you determine the minefield is going to be 6 by 6. And in my rules, and my suggestion is that your scenario would determine how big the minefield is, meaning you can pay points. If you want a 8 by 8 minefield, it might cost you a certain number of points. If you want a 10 by 10 up to a 12 by 12 minefield, but you could pay more points if you wanted a bigger minefield, right? And then you'd say where it's at. So in this instance, this character has bought a 6x6 minefield, and the Germans decide they have to go through the minefield or they cannot take the town. So this squad gets an activation unit. They decide that they are going to try to, well, they have to decide with their activation whether they want to run through it or whether they want to advance. If they advance, they can obviously fire on anything they see. If they run through it, they cannot fire. But let's just say because they want to hurry up and get through it, they decide, well, it's only 6 inches, we can do a 12-inch run. If they do a 12-inch run, the minute they enter the minefield, right, the minute one of their figures crosses into the minefield, they would roll before they finish their move, right? So the minute the figure crosses in there, they would roll before they finish their move. Now you see all of them right there. He said the whole squad is doing a run. So once one enters, the whole squad goes in at that point, and you would roll 2d6. So the left one is going to tell you the longitude. The right one is going to give you the latitude of that mine. So in this case, we have a 3, which would be 1, 2, 3, and a 5, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the mine is right there, right? That is where the mine is at. Because they chose a run action, you now go through the thing. This guy misses the mine. This guy misses the mine. This guy has to stop because he hits the mine right there. This guy, because he's running and he's within the 1-inch blast zone of the mine, he has to stop. This guy would not have to stop because he's outside the 1-inch blast zone of the mine. The way we would resolve a mine is simple. There would be an automatic pin. So right there, right at that moment, the squad itself is going to take an automatic pin, not necessarily the person that hit the mine, but just the squad in general is going to take a pin. And every mine that goes off would cause a pin. So that squad takes 1 pin. The officer rolls, he will be killed on a 2 or higher because he rolled right on the mine. Anyone else outside is killed on a 3 or higher. So the officer needs a 1. He survives. He is not killed. He can finish his move. This guy needs a 1 or 2. And he did not survive. He is killed by the mine. Right? Now, depending on, let's just say the person had said, well, I want more than 1 mine. So we did the thing and we said, let's say he has 4 mines and he's paid for these. So 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out. We'll roll for his other mine. Right? Again. So this mine again is 3, but it's only 3 out. 1, 2, 3. We'll roll for another mine. So this one is 6 and 1, which this mine is literally right here. Right there where this guy is on. He's actually on this mine. And did I say he was going to buy 3 mines or 4? Let's just do it at 3. Okay, so now because they chose a run action, these 2 have to stop because they're going to get hit right at the beginning. He's in the 1-inch zone. This guy is going to stop and get hit. This guy is going to stop because he's in the 1-inch zone. This guy runs through. He does not get hit. So if we were to play these out, the officer again only needs a 1, which he doesn't get this time. He needs a 1 or 2 to survive, or basically 3 or higher. He's killed. So he is killed. Both of them are killed by that mine. This guy is killed on anything but a 1. He's dead. This guy is killed on a 3 or higher. And he is dead. And there you can see that minefield basically wiped them out. And the way it works, since they set off 2 of the 3 mines, the third one didn't get set off, the remaining guy would have 2 pins on him because of both of the mines that got set off. Every mine that goes off would be a pin. And that's as simple as you would make it. I mean, then you could obviously remove the minefield. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, that's pretty brutal. But I think you could modify it by, for example, if we set this back up, let's just say we still do the 6x6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're still going to do the 6x6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But instead of them choosing a run action, like they said, because they wanted to try to hurry up and run through it, let's say the squad chooses, the German squad says, you know what, we're going to advance slowly through this minefield. We're not going to run. We're going to do an advance action. Well, then you can make a number of changes to maybe give them more of a chance to survive. And so the first change I would make is, if they chose an advance, is you can move the first guy out and then roll to see if a mine is there, right? Because they chose a run, we revealed all the mines at once because they were all running, which means they're not looking, they're just blasting across the field. But let's just say they get to the edge and he says, okay, we're going to do an advance, right? So the first guy who's operating on the advance is going to go 6, and he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? He does an advance. Now, we will roll to see where one of the mines is at, since he went into the minefield. Let's say they have 3. So this mine is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. He stopped right short of hitting the mine. But that mine is now revealed. The next guy says, well, I'm going to do an advance. And he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we roll to see where the other mine is at. So this one is 1, 2. And this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another mine in the exact same spot. There's 2 mines there. So whoever gets that would have to survive both mines. Let's say they have one more mine. The officer sends one more guy in on his advance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, everyone's trying to skirt those mines. This mine is 1, 2, or 1, 2 out this way, and 6. This mine is actually there. So all the mines were mined right here in this area. Just a big cluster of mines. So now that we've done that, because they didn't advance and nobody hit the mines, none of the mines landed on none of the tiles they went through and none of the tiles they ended up in, the officer can now advance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can advance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they can advance next turn and clear the minefield because all the mines have been revealed. Now, obviously, the problem with that is they're going to probably be stuck in the middle of a minefield taking fire or whatever. They've had to move at an advance. But because they have advanced, they get to reveal each of the mines one by one. Now, if we assume that the mine had went off, let's just say the first guy, and I put my things up, but let's just say the first guy went, and here's the minefield again. And I like to model my minefield. But the first guy, let's say the officer and them get to the edge. They say, you know what, we're going to do an advance. And this guy says, okay, I'll go first. And he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, that's kind of his pattern through these 2. So we roll for the mine. Because they're not running, we're not going to roll as soon as they hit the minefield. We're going to roll when they stop. Right, because he might have gingerly tiptoed over it or whatever, but we'll go back and see. So this one is 1, 2, and then 4. So you go 1, 2, 3, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I put these too far up, but let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right there, right? But let's just say it was right here on top of him, right? And he sets the mine off, and he's got he needs a 1 to survive. He doesn't. He dies. Well, that mine is gone. So there's only 2 more mines because you know how many mines your opponent bought, which means the officer only has to send 2 more people through. And even if they hit the mines, the rest of the squad can go through. Now, this is a small squad, But if you're running a 12-man squad, maybe you're going to lose 2 or 3 guys, but you're going to be able to clear the minefield. And so that is how I would like to see mines. Okay, so we're going to pick up with the next house rule, or at least the rule I'd like to see them get around to, is grenades. And boat action is actually one of the only World War II squad level miniature games that I'm aware of that has absolutely no rules for grenades. I think Chain of Command has rules for grenades, and several other systems, which a lot of you probably have never heard of. But I decided that, you know, it just makes common sense to put grenades in the game, since grenades were a part of, you know, the equipment, you know, of the World War II soldier. And so I came up with a simple rule, because I presume that the reason grenades never made it was because they thought it would be too powerful in the game. It would maybe kill off people, or make troops combat ineffective too quickly. But I don't think that's a good enough reason not to put some kind of grenade rule in. So what I came up with, and I have a video for this as well in my boat action rules playlist. What I came up with a rule is where every time you build a company, or every time you build a unit or a platoon, I guess, for every 6 figures, you will get up to 3 grenades. Okay, and if you have less than 6 figures, you know, you will get, you know, maybe 2 grenades, 1 grenade for every 3 figures, so to speak. But you know, you don't want it to be where everybody can get equipped with grenades. So if you have a 12-man squad, you know, you would have, you know, no more than 6 grenades in that squad. Or every other man would have a grenade. And you're kind of assuming that a lot of people have used theirs. Now, you would still have to pay for them. And I forgot what I worked the points out would be, at least what I thought would be a good point threshold. But that may be in the video as well. The main thing, though, is, so how would grenades work? The first rule I would have with grenades is that grenades do not kill. And I know that's unrealistic, but it's kind of accommodation for the game. So that, you know, people are not just chucking grenades indiscriminately instead of everything else and just blowing away miniatures. So in this situation, grenades do not kill, but they only do pins. But a grenade that lands would do maximum of 2 pins. So if you put 2 grenades on the target, it would do 4 pins. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm going to show you how in practice it can be very significant. So we have here an American MG, and let's just say the American MG has an ambush order, and it's waiting on these guys to move from behind this tank so that it can take a shot, right? It's going to open up on them when they try to clear the other side of that tank. Well, let's just say this German commander here, who's a little bit off screen, we're going to move him up. This German commander here gets a die. And so he decides to activate himself. And let's just say he's a captain, so he would have 12 inches. He will activate what's left of this unit here as well. So this unit is going to get an advance, and his unit is going to get a, let's just say they're going to do a run, right? They're going to try to run in this building that is down here off screen. So now playing this out, this unit that gets the advance up here that is kind of trying to flank this MG decides, well, we are going to throw grenades. And since they are going to throw grenades, they can either move and throw, or they can just decide to throw. If you move and throw with a grenade, there's no penalty, even if you're not an American. But in this case, let's just say they use a fire order. We don't even need the advance, looking at where they're at. Now, you cannot pre-measure, but the maximum distance your grenades can be thrown is 6 inches. So what you do is you declare you're going to throw a grenade. Let's just say they are what's left of another unit, so they have 2 grenades with them. So they can throw both of them. Instead of shooting, you can't throw a grenade and shoot. You can throw the grenade as your fire action. So they declare they're going to throw them. They now measure from them to where they want the grenade to land, and it is about 4 inches. This guy, we're going to assume, is going to throw over this other one's head, so he's about 5 inches. So you have to roll equal to or over the number of inches for the grenades to land. So if it is 4 inches, this guy would need to roll a 5 or 6. And he rolled a 5. He needs to roll a... Actually, he could have rolled a 4, 5, or 6. He needs a 5 or 6. And he rolled a 2. So his grenade does not land. His does land. And because his grenade lands, he immediately puts 2 pins on this rifle unit. Now, you may say, well, that's not very exciting for grenades, but wait and see how that works out. So this unit now decides they are going to use their run order down here with the captain or major or whatever, the German. But he says, well, I want to use my ambush. So as you guys are running and you coming to the clear or whatever, I'm going to take my shot with my, with my ambush. So let's just say it's an American grenade. Let's say it gets 4 dice. They're in the open. He would normally need 3s. But because he has 2 pins, he now needs 5s. And he gets 1 hit and 1 pin. So we take that and, you can roll to see if it's a kill. So he got 1 kill. We'll pull that guy off. These guys will finish their move and make it into the building with 1 pin. But the difference, if you look at this, just look at the difference between that row with those 4 dice. If he was rolling with 3s, he would have had 3 hits and possibly 3 kills from that MG. And if both of them had put 2 pins on him, he would have almost been needing the 7s, or he would have needed to rally. They would have literally pinned him out of effectiveness. And that is it, right? I think that is a very simple, a very straightforward, a very interesting way to incorporate some grenades into your game. At the worst you're going to do is maybe pin a unit out of effectiveness for a turn, because under the rally rules, I think the new 2nd edition rules, when you rally, if you do a successful rally, you take all your pins off. You don't have to roll even a D6 no more. They all come off. If you pass an action, like technically, I think they would have actually had to have rolled to activated that ambush, right? So I don't know what their leadership is. Let's just say they are an 8. Well, with the 2 pins, they're now a 6. So let's just see. They rolled a 10. Which meant they wouldn't have activated either, right? With those 2 pins on them. Now, one of them would have came off if they had activated. So, then it would have only been 1 pin. But, most of that, it doesn't really change any of the regular game rules. It's kind of another element. I played a game called Operation 88, which is a boat action battle report I did a long time ago. Where I actually had grenades in that game. And I loved it. They were very effective. They came in very timely. What I think the unit did then was an airborne unit threw them right before they went in for a close combat. A hand-to-hand combat. They threw it and put some pins on the squad right before they went in. So, let me know what you guys think about that. Next up, I think we are going to take a look at my rules, because the rest of these are pretty short. We're going to take a look at my suggested rule for, so we did mines, we did grenades, We did snipers. Oh, good. We can look at my rules for machine guns. All right, so in this segment, we're going to be looking at my suggested changes for machine guns in boat action. Now, I think anybody that's ever played boat action will agree that machine guns are fairly unproductive in the game. I mean, people always buy them, but I don't think anyone has ever bought a machine gun and really felt like it was a machine gun. And I think even the boat action designers recognized this when they tried to correct the German machine gun, and I think they gave it an extra die. So instead of rolling 4 dice, it rolled 5 dice. Now, I think the problem, though, is it has nothing to do with how many dice the machine gun is rolling. I think it has everything to do with the way machine guns are played in the game. So let's take an example of how the rules work now. So we have an American squad that is targeting these Germans that are kind of in partial cover from the vehicle here. The Americans want to open up with the machine gun, right? And hopefully maybe pin them down in the open, which would obviously keep the tank from moving unless he wants to leave them exposed. So the Americans get a die. They give this machine gun a fire order. Now, this is not the American 30 caliber. This is actually I think this is actually a 50 caliber American machine gun. So that is a medium machine gun, and it would actually still roll 5 dice. So we're going to get 5 American dice. They're in partial cover. The Americans have not moved, so they would be a 3. We give them 1 for cover, which would make them a 4. And so we roll. And they get 2 hits. So they're going to put 1 pin on the Germans. Right? They get 1 pin on the Germans. And they will roll for 2 kills. If these are vets, let's just say they need 4s. And they get 1 kill. Right? Now that's your machine gun attack. And I think it's fairly anticlimactic. Right? For what you pay for a medium machine gun in the game, which I don't have the points right here in front of me, but let me see if I can go to one of the American lists. Medium machine gun. And we're gonna see what we call what did we pay to get that 1 kill with that medium machine gun. And where is it at? Some of this stuff you gotta. That's another thing. I wish they would make a new rule book with an index at the back. So for a medium machine gun, you pay 35 points. Okay, so not as much as the sniper, but still over, I'd say over half if you're trying to get a 12-man platoon. It's over half the cost of just a 12-man platoon for a medium machine gun, 35 points. And so in this instance, we got, 1 pin and 1 kill. And really the concept of a machine gun is suppressing fire, right? This machine gun should be laying down fire that would keep these guys from moving, activating, or doing anything else. Now, in reality, these guys got 1 pin. They got an officer with them. They're probably, a 9. So, if you take the pin away from their role, and I don't even know if they take pins away from leadership checks anymore. That might even be an old one, except maybe I think it's just when you rally. But let's just say they decide they're going to fire back. So they roll to see if they can activate with the pin. They roll a 9. I think they would get a bonus for the officer, but we're going to assume they can. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And they're firing back at the machine gun. The machine gun is in, we'll just give it light cover, because it's got logs and stuff. It's not quite in a building. So they would need 3s, 4s. And they get 1, 2 hits. So now the machine gun takes a pin, right, which it's going to have to deal with next turn. and then we'll roll for kills. And let's just say these Americans are veterans too, and they got no kills. So basically the machine gun outdid them by 1. It got 1 more. And now that's only 5 dudes I think I had firing, or 4 dudes. So the machine gun got 1 more kill than they did. But either way, I don't think that, I just don't like that. Like, I don't like the fact that nobody's afraid of machine guns in boat action. So this is my rule. We're going to give the machine gun a fire order. And under my rule, machine guns always do at least 2 pins. Okay, they always do 2 pins. So it doesn't make sense to me that a guy shooting at you with a rifle that gets a hit but not a kill gets a pin. But somebody unloading on you with a 50 caliber machine gun, he gets a hit and 1 pin as well. So I think machine guns should always get 2 pins if they hit, not if they don't hit. But if they hit, they always do at least 2 pins. So now the machine gun is going to fire. This machine gun is a medium. Like I said, I think he gets 5 dice, medium machine gun. Is that what I said, or was it 4? I got this little handheld book here, which is not easy to go through. So I think I said 5 dice. Medium machine gun, 5 dice. Okay, that's on the weapons chart. So he gets 5 dice. Now, this is where my rule comes in, because that's just kind of an opener. And let's say he needs 4s to hit. So he got 1, 2 hits, 3 misses. Now, each hit rolled with the machine gun is a pin. So the minimum he gets is going to be 2 pins. He only got 2 hits, so that would not be any extra pins. But let's assume he rolled these 5 dice and he got 4 hits. Well, that would be 4 pins, not 2, and certainly not 1. He got 4 hits, that's 4 pins. Now, if you are firing a smaller caliber machine gun that has 3 dice, the maximum pins it would ever put on you is 3. But a heavier machine gun obviously could give you up to 4 or 5 pins, which really pins your unit down, right? It really lowers the odds of you being able to effectively activate that turn other than trying to rally. Now, let's go back to this. Let's take away 2 of these pins. They got 2 pins. The machine gun got 2 kills, right? The other rule is this. Each kill roll removes or reduces pins. So now remember I said we gave it 4 hits and 4 pins. Well, if those 4 hits, we're now going to roll for kills, right? And we need 4. So we're just ignoring the other roll. And they got no kill. Let's do it over. We need 4s. Lord, this is terrible dice. I will never use these in a real game. We need 4s. Okay, thank you. So we got 2 kills, right? Out of those, because we needed 4 or higher. Each kill will remove a pin up to 2 pins remaining, meaning each kill will take off 1 pin with it because they're dead, right? So obviously the effect of pinning is going to be somewhat reduced because these people don't have their head down. They're dead. Their head got shot off. Now, let's just assume we have rolled 3 kills. Well, 3 kills would still only take off 2 pins because every machine gun does at least 2 pins if it gets a hit. So you wouldn't take off 3 pins. If you got all 4 kills, you wouldn't take off all 4 pins. You would always leave 2 just from them being shot at by a machine gun. And that's it. That's the only change I would make to MGs, because I think it would definitely make machine guns be much more respected and make it much less likely, that people are just going to walk into machine guns and say, okay, take your shot. All right, now it's my turn, which I saw so many times in battle reports. So let's just take this unit that, assuming it had 4 pins on it now, and they want to activate to fire back. If their leadership is a 9, they are now at a 5. And they rolled 6, which means they cannot activate that turn because they are pinned down. Now, if he does a rally, needing a 9, and I don't think with a rally you take the pins off. It's just a straight roll. He rolls an 8. All these pins would come off. But that machine gun has bought you a turn, right? And you say, well, what am I going to do with a turn? Just one turn. Well, that turn has allowed you to move your bazooka up. And now your bazooka is going to take a shot at that German P4 that has been protecting them. But before we get to that, it's time to introduce my next new house rule. And that rule is called velocity. This is an M18 Hellcat. And the M18 Hellcat was one of the fastest tanks in World War II. The M18 Hellcat had a lot less armor than the Sherman, but it was equipped with the same gun. The M18 Hellcat was able to penetrate the frontal armor on most Panthers and most other German tanks smaller than a Panther. You know, and in the right location, it could kill Tigers. And it wasn't because it had the same gun as the Sherman. So that brings us to velocity. So the problem I have with boat action, especially with tanks, and I'm going to kind of bring another rule in here with this. I'm going to kind of sandbag an extra rule onto this, but the main rule I'm going to discuss right now, or maybe I'll do it separate, but I'll tell you, is velocity. So the problem I have with boat action is you have these beautiful looking tanks, beautiful looking armor, all kinds of armor was introduced in World War II. But 90% of the time when you play tank battles in World War II, they are extremely boring. And I don't care what anybody says, they're boring. And not only are they boring, they're very unrealistic. How many times have you seen people bring anti-tank guns in a World War II boat action game, and the anti-tank gun is literally out of the game within 2 turns without ever killing anything? Come on, people, we deserve better than that. So that is why I came up with the ideal of velocity. Now, if we're looking at boat action now, and we look at a tank like a P4, okay? And let's just say this P4, the Americans have brought up a Hellcat, right? And the P4 wants to take a shot on that Hellcat using the current American armor or tank rules in the game, right? And let's just say the P4 has, you know, a medium gun, and the P4 is shooting at that Hellcat. So let's go to the rules. It says 106. I'm not sure if that's right or not. Okay. And here we go. Armored targets. So if the Hellcat is considered, let's just say it's a light tank, its target is 8+. Right? The P4 is shooting at it. You know, it is a medium tank. Let's see what its penetration value is. If I had that in here. I probably should have had this stuff ready, but, you know, it's fun to look it up. At least for me it is. So where's my P4 at? United States, Germany. Okay, the Panzer IV. Damage value is a 9+ medium tank. It has a front armor rating of +1, giving it the 3 same frontal value as a heavy tank. 10+ front armor. Damage value is 9+. Oh, then it gets a 10 for its frontal armor. But that doesn't tell me what its penetration is. So what is its penetration value? 1 turret mounted super heavy anti-tank gun with coaxial. I tell you, man, I can't stand looking for stuff on boat action. Always looking at rules. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so it is a super heavy AT gun with a +7 penetration. So this tank is firing a super heavy anti-tank gun, +7 penetration. We've already determined that the Hellcat is going to be a light armored vehicle, which again I'm assuming that that's what it is, or else I could look it up. I don't want to bog the game down. It's classified as a light tank, which means it has A+. So let's just say all of this stuff is fairly equal. Everything's within range. Nobody's moved. So it needs a 3. Right? We roll a 3 for a hit. And it gets a 5. Which is, I think that's a miss, isn't it? No, 3 or higher would be a hit. So it gets a hit, and the penetration 7. His armor is, what is it, 8? No, medium, light tank is 8. So it just needs a, is it a 1 or better to penetrate it? Okay. Yeah, I think that would be it. So it rolled a 5. Okay, I had to remind myself how these rules work. So for a light tank, you need an 8+ to damage it. If your penetration is 7, you add your roll to the 7. So 7 plus this would be 12. So we definitely do damage. We now roll on the table, the damage table. And I think we're supposed to add the balance. Roll a d6 on the damage table. I think, let me see. I want to make sure that's modified. That makes sense to me. Like an instead for each hit, roll damage below to see what happens. Oh man, okay, so digging through these rules, the rule I was looking for is called massive damage. If a weapon beats the damage value of the target by a total of 3 or greater, so this one was an 8, we beat it by 12, which is 3 or greater. Then the minimum score, then the player rolls twice on the damage results chart. Roll once and apply the result, then roll again and apply the second result. So we would roll once, and that would be a 3, which means it's on fire. We would roll again, and that would mean a 3, which means it is on fire again. And so it says you add a pin marker, you do the fire test to see if it's put out. The test has failed, the crew abandoned the vehicle is considered knocked out. The vehicle survives the test and has 1 or more turrets. Also roll for turret jam. So basically they just set this, he set it on fire. Now, you know, I don't really have a problem with the massive damage rule. I kind of like it. I don't have a problem with rolling on the table for the damage. I mean, I think it's cool if you're using vehicles. You don't want them to be one-shotted. What I have a problem with is this. One pingy little die, right? So now I'm going to show you how this would work in my rules with the Hellcat attacking the P4. So in my rules, I would create a rule called velocity. And what velocity would do is it would determine how many dice you roll on your shot. And I've kind of divided it in 2 ways. You can divide it by the gun, meaning 45 millimeter, 57 millimeter, 75, 76 millimeter gun, or you can divide it by the tank, whether it is a medium tank, large tank, or super heavy tank. Okay, and obviously if I say tank, I'm talking about the gun that's on the tank. So in this case where you have this P4 with a a super heavy tank gun on it, then it would get the dice that goes to that type of gun, even though it may not get the armor. And if you have a light tank like this, though, that has a medium tank gun on it, it would get the dice for that. And the way velocity is work is, say, once again, we have this Hellcat. It is now returning its shot at this Panther. And let's just say it also needs a 3, right? And it rolls a 2, which would be a miss, right? And that's kind of boring. So what I would say is, you would say, okay, this is a Hellcat. It has a medium gun. It gets 3 dice. Medium tanks, medium guns get 3 dice. It needs a 3, 4, 5, or 6 to hit. And there you go. You have a 3. The other ones make no difference. They get discarded. Once you get your hit, that's it. But what these extra dice represent is the velocity of the gun. So instead of this one drop one die stuff, which I've seen in games over and over, where tanks are just staring at each other like this and they miss. So like, for example, there's no way this Hellcat would miss this P4. It's almost not possible, right? If they're right there staring at each other. But you saw me roll a 2, so it missed. Well, using my velocity rule, it doesn't miss. Now, velocity would not change anything else, right? I'd take this gun's penetration, I'd work it out against him, and we'd roll for the damage. This gun using a super heavy, this tank using a super heavy gun would actually roll 5 dice. Again, it only needs a 3 to hit. Bam! Right? You've got your 3 many times over. But what happens is, tanks are going to hit when they should hit. Now, let's just assume this tank moved right before it came into view. Let's just assume that this tank has got some cover. It's like kind of ducked around here like you see people do in the game. You know, they put their tanks way back there, which, I mean, you know, is somewhat realistic, but, you know, it's not fun. So let's just say he moved. So he went from a 3 to a 4. This guy has got some hard cover, and that's a 6. Right, now normally in boat action, if you're dropping 1 die, trying to get a 6, up that's a 1, you might have to shoot at that tank 4 times, but you're not even going to be there 4 times, especially if this guy's got a bazooka, which they don't hit that much either. But using my velocity rule, he needs a 6. He takes his 5 dice. He misses. So it's not automatic, right? He misses. But now it's getting exciting, right? Because now he's firing back. He's got his 3 dice. And he still needs, let's just say he needs 4. Maybe he moved up there. Maybe there's some intervening troops or something between him and he needs 4s, right? But he's only got a medium gun. He's got 3 dice. But there's his 4. So bam, he hit the guy. This guy had his shot. Now let's assume that doesn't destroy him. Let's assume it just puts him on fire. And he gets his next roll again. Now, as long as his gun is operating, he's not going to lose any of his velocity dice. And there you go. You got 2 6s. So they both hit each other. They both blast each other. And like I said, you only need 1. The rest of these don't do anything. It doesn't change the rules really, other than it makes it more likely that guns that should hit will hit. Right? Big guns, fast velocity rounds are going to hit their targets. It's not this random, oh, we all dropped 1 die. Did I get a 6 this turn? No. Did I get a 6 that turn? No. Did I get a 6 that turn? Oh, I finally got it. Right? That's boring. You know, you play a game of boat action, you're lucky if everybody gets maybe 5 turns per side. Like I get 5 turns, you get 5. If it takes me 3 or 4 turns to roll 1 6 on 1 engagement, I mean, you're just wasting a bunch of points in these tanks and these vehicles. So that's my rule. The other rule, and I think this is the last rule that I'm going to give you guys, the last house rule, has to do with rounds. So, and this is a perfect situation. So let's just say this tank and this tank here are having a duel, right? And they're both firing at each other. And this tank sees this bazooka, and he says, oh, I'm going to fire at the bazooka. And he says, I'm firing my HE. And he says, well, what do you mean? I'm firing my HE. And you say, well, what do you mean? Under my rules, the last round that you fire type of round is the round you have to fire again unless you state at the beginning of the turn, I am now loading HE. All right, so everybody gets set up. We're about to draw the next die. And you say, does anybody want to change any of their rounds in their tanks? Do you want to load HE? Do you want to load AP, armor piercing? And this guy says no. And this guy says no. Right? And say, for example, this bazooka gets a die. He takes out, the P4. And now the Hellcat moves up and says, oh, I'm going to fire on those infantry. And you say, well, you do know you're only loaded with AP. Oh, I load HE. No. No, you don't. You're loaded with AP. That's what you said to start this turn. You can go HE next round. And I think it is a simple mechanic, but it stops people from gaming it. Because if you're assuming this action is taking place, I mean, it may be total of 30 minutes, just fierce action, tanks firing, men shooting at each other, right? The time it would take for them to load an AP round or an HE round, right, it might not be a lot, but it could be all the time in the world. They may not be there anymore. And even if we theoretically assume, okay, well, I don't like that rule. I think they should be able to change on the fly because they could do that. They could change their armor pretty quickly just by yelling it out. Okay, I'll give you that. So then that gives me my next rule. And you're like, man, you got something for everything, Dino, don't you? Yes, I do. My next rule are these. And you're like, Dino, what's a bunch of bullets? I know that's a bunch of bullets. But the blue bullets are AP rounds, and the yellow bullets are HE. And so my next rule is whenever you play a game of boat action, before you start the game, you have to determine how many rounds of each you're going to bring. So, and it don't really matter what you say the tank can carry. If you say 10 rounds, how many are you going to bring AP? How many are you going to bring HE? Right? So as a player, let's go back to this same battle. Okay, we're just talking about the Hellcat. So round one, the P4 pulls up, bam, he fires at the Hellcat. The Hellcat says, I'm switching the AP. He fires at the P4, he misses. Next round comes, the P4 fires. This guy says, okay, I'm firing back. He fires this round of AP, and he misses. Right, the P4, then decides to back up and fire one last time and misses. This guy steps up and he fires his last AP round and he misses. Okay, so now the P4 fires again and misses. And this guy decides he's going to fire back, but he has no more AP. All he can fire is an HE round. And yes, you can fire an HE round at a tank. There's rules for it. But that's all he's got. Right? And if you guys don't think that happened in World War II, it did happen in World War II. Where tanks were out of armor-piercing rounds, or they were out of HE rounds if they were trying to fire on infantry. So they were lobbing shells. They were lobbing shells at infantrymen because they had no HE rounds. Read about some of the battles in Kursk and other parts of Russia, right? Where a lot of them tanks, they had no HE rounds. All they had was AP. Or they had no AP. All they had was HE. So you can do it either way. Like if you don't want to keep track of the round per round thing, then you can just put the rule that, you have to state at the beginning of the turn what you're loading. Because things are happening very fast. Right? And your first shot of that turn is going to be whatever you load. Now, maybe after that, you can change it again after you fire. So you state at the beginning of the turn, I'm loading AP. And he says, I'm loading 8 armor piercing 2. So your first turn comes up and this guy fires. Now really in bolt action, his turn is not going to come up again once he's fired until next turn. But assuming for some reason he gets another turn that round, and you would say, okay, well, what are you gonna load? All right, well now I'm gonna go to HE. I took out the Hellcat. So I want to start this round with HE. So I don't know. These are some of the things I think would add a little more, would make bolt action a little more dynamic. I think now it's become kind of static. And I think you have a lot of people gaming the rules, which really upsets me. Where you see people bringing these flame tanks and flamethrowers, all that nonsense. Stuff that was just totally inaccurate. You see units, driving around with one truck with 5 machine guns on it, blazing around and nothing can bring it down. I think just these simple rules. You bring that guy with that flamethrower up against this MG and he's throwing these pins out at you, you better be careful. And the same thing with that flame tank or flame truck. You want to bring some truck or tank out there against a high velocity weapon, it's probably not going to be around long. So let me know what you guys think. I know this was a long video, but I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to get all of it on video for me, for future reference, because I really am anxious to start up a long-term boat action campaign. And so I've been thinking about these ideals, but I wanted to get them down. I've got them kind of written on notes, but I wanted to kind of, work it out in my head. So I apologize if nobody enjoys this, but this is just a video I wanted to do for myself, and I thought I might as well share it in the process. Let me know if you guys got any cool house rules for boat action, and let me know if you guys agree with me. I mean, isn't it time that we got a 3rd edition of boat action? Take care. God bless.